From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Welcome to She's the Boss. My name is Jules Brooke. I'm your host for today, and I'm very excited because I have two fabulous women, both in the Italian food kind of space. So we have Julia Picone, who is the owner of Pentolina Restaurant in Melbourne, and we have Andrea Orchard, who's the owner of Annie's Providore. So welcome, girls. It's fantastic to have you on the show.
Thanks, Jules. It's great to be here.
Okay, so firstly, I think what we might do is get you to explain a little bit about your businesses and about what you do. So I'm going to start with you, Andrea. What is Annie's Providore?
Annie's Providore is a gourmet food store cafe in little old Barwon Heads on the Bellarine Peninsula, just outside of Geelong.
I actually visited it last week.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
too,
I did.
that's right.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I wasn't there, I was here. So I started that just gone 15 years ago in December.
Congratulations.
This was our 16th summer. So I saw all those years ago a bit of a niche market moving down that part of the world, that there was nowhere for me to buy all the delicious things that I'd been used to buying. So that's sort of how the idea started.
And it's a lot of imported goods, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a small little business, because it looks like it's a little shop in the Bellarine Peninsula on the main street in Barwon Heads. But actually, how many staff have you got?
41 at the moment.
My giddy aunt, that is so huge. And then you've moved into other areas, so I know you do catering as well.
So we've got the catering, Annie's Kitchen, catering and events, so that's all the off-site catering.
Yeah, and is that quite a big part of the business?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we do some major events. We've got the catering coming up for the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race.
What?
Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race.
Oh, right, okay.
So we do all that for Visit Victoria.
Yeah.
So that's fun. So we do major events along with lots of weddings and those sorts of things as well.
And then you've got another part of the business that you nearly forgot to tell me about.
Yes.
What's that?
This is my, I suppose, number one passion, and that's the food and wine tours to Italy.
Yeah.
Into the Veneto region, where my family is, or my father's side of the family are from.
So we'll go into that in a little bit more detail, because I'm dying to hear how all of that works. But now, Julia, I've known you for a little while, since you set up the restaurant, which you said to me today was 18 months ago, and I cannot believe it's
over 18 months. So Pentolina is
Yes.
the name of the restaurant.
Yes.
So that's the Italian word for little saucepan.
Oh, is it?
So it's a little laneway pasta bar, not far from here, just down the road on Little Collins Street.
Yeah.
Been open 18 months, so it's a very simple concept, 60-seater restaurant. But I like to think of it as a haven for fresh pasta and authentic Italian hospitality. So
Yeah, it is. And I think what I really love about it, other than the amazing food, is that you've got your kitchen out there pretty much in the middle of the dining room, and we can actually see the guys and girls, but the one when I was there it was mainly guys, but flipping, and you're the boss of all those guys, which I love as well, but making that pasta there in front of you. That's and then doing their quick
centerpiece. It's all about the food and the hospitality, so you can see all the fresh pasta being made. You can
sit around the bar and just watch it.
You can sit at the bar and watch the chef cook up your pasta and then pass it over to you.
Yeah,
or you
which
can
is just
sink into a more
gorgeous.
comfortable seat in the restaurant, so we cater for whatever you fancy.
So guys, I hope nobody's drooling at the moment, but I'm already starting to. So girls, what I think, because with this show is all about female bosses, let's do a little bit about, let's talk a little bit about why you set up the businesses in the first place, because there's normally a reason, or there's something that happens that makes you go, you know what, I'm going to go in a whole new direction, I'm going to set up my own business. So let's start with you, Andrea, or Annie.
Well, as I said, it was 15 years ago, and I was a single mum and had been for about 12 months.
And what were you doing at that stage?
I was working at Scotchman's Hill as wedding and function manager.
Okay.
So I've always been in the hospitality space. That's all I've ever done. Obviously, coming from an Italian background, food was just such a huge
part of your life.
Everything that we did, and hospitality was just a natural progression. I was a single mum down on the Bellarine Peninsula, two little ones. Always, even when I was married, had thought about doing a deli type concept, something like that. And then on one mad day, I just decided I would do it, and then just started looking for premises.
I was going to say, so how does that work? So you got the premises first, and now
it was actually
I'm
a bit of a sliding doors moment, because I remember vividly leaving work and walking across the courtyard, and I remembered at the last minute I had to call the landlord back about the space I was looking at that was already leased.
Right.
And I stood and I waited a moment, and I turned around with my bags and I went back and I called him, and the lease had fallen through that day.
So it was the universe saying, this is it.
And then it just 12 weeks later, Annie's opened.
Did you do the same thing? Did you go and look for premises kind of as the first, now we know we're committed?
That was a huge challenge too, just to find the right spot.
Because you wanted to be in Melbourne, you wanted specifically to be in a
Melbourne
laneway.
City, and it's just, the engineering challenges associated with opening a restaurant are just huge.
Did you? Because you've had to set up, like your store has got wall to wall, floor to ceiling.
I suppose. Initially, it didn't look like that.
So it was just a deli. It was like a normal deli.
And
at
it
first.
had space to have a few tables, and I was never employing chefs. Now I've got 7.
Right.
So it's certainly evolved into a different beast over the last 15 years.
Yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you. So you had that moment, you decided, that's it, I'm just going to grab the bull by the horns and do it. What made you think of doing that as a single mum with 2 kids?
I don't know.
Where was the sort of, I'm risking everything kind of moment? You didn't have that?
Yeah, it's probably one of the few times I haven't for some reason. And I just went for it. And 12 weeks later, I knew I had to open before the summer season started.
Yeah.
So that gave me roughly 12 weeks.
And you started in December?
And that was to do a shop fit out, and I'd never done that in my life.
Wow.
So it was just lots of
So how do you live? So loads and loads of research. Were you asking your friends who had restaurants?
Yeah,
Did
just
you have
things.
people
Just
say?
I had help very much from the builder who'd built the building.
Ah, okay.
So he was very
This is
forthright.
nearly always a guardian angel.
Yeah, coming forward and then putting me onto different people, and it's amazing what you're capable of once you start. And once you start talking to people, and how kind and generous people actually are when you're seeking help and support.
Yeah,
so it just was. I can't even really remember.
Well, I've got this weird expression. I don't know why I say it, but I kind of feel like if you decide to do a business and it kind of works, it's almost like, I always used to say, it's kind of like sitting on tram tracks or something. It just slides along and it just works, and you just know you're onto something.
Yeah, I was onto it a bit early, admittedly. I was a very small coastal town where people gave me 6 months.
Yeah, right.
I had all these Italian products and Italian ideas.
And a tiny community of only 300 people or something.
And everyone looked at me and thought, what's this all about? And, I'm proud to say it's become an institution.
And do you think is the growth because you're at the start of the Great Ocean Road, so people are coming through Barwon Heads,
I
or
think
where
Barwon
did it
Heads
come
is a very
from?
unique, special spot that everyone seems to love. As soon as you say Barwon Heads, everyone knows it, loves it.
And for anyone that doesn't know, I think, is that where Sea Change was?
Yeah, they did film part of it.
Yeah, so it's a very small, coastal, beautiful community right near 13th Beach, sort of right at the beginning of the Great Ocean Road.
Geelong, so we're only 20 minutes. So we're geographically very close, but we're a world away.
Do you have a lot of customers that came from Geelong?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, all over.
Right.
We've become a little bit of a destination spot.
I'm just interested as to how that happened, how it became a destination that people actually knew it was there. Were you doing lots of advertising? Like, or was it just word of mouth?
No, I think because the business was so unique that people do, even still to this day, walk in and say, wow. Or people from halfway across the world say, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
I feel like I'm in Italy.
Yeah, it's a unique offer.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's become a destination point.
Yeah, and I think part of that, a lot of people when they set up businesses get really scared about niching it into a really small kind of niche, because they're like, all those customers I'm turning away. But by becoming niche, you become specialised and people will travel to come to you.
Yeah,
so what was your moment, or what was the light bulb moment that made you think about, because what were you doing before? I think that's really interesting.
I should say I found it interesting that Annie used the word mad or madness to describe her journey, because I think anyone that gets into hospitality is pretty mad. And
you've got to have a certain DNA.
Yeah, my journey has been mad. So from lawyer to policy advisor for the state government to restaurant owner. So
that is mad.
Logic, but I should say that I have a confession to make. I'm not Italian. I'm actually Aussie.
Yes.
But I feel like I have an Italian soul. I developed a passion for the Italian food and culture and language from an early age.
Yeah.
I married a guy with Italian background, and when I went to uni I was studying law, but I was also doing an arts degree, and I decided, I think I'll just study Italian.
Right, so there has always been this theme through your life.
Yeah, definitely, and after a couple of years I went over to Florence during the uni break to study Italian in Florence, and I just loved it.
So you're fluent in Italian now?
Oh, look, I'm a bit rusty,
but reasonably.
But I can get by. I mean, the guys in the kitchen, they talk Italian to each other, and they think I don't understand.
I love that.
Enough.
So, what was the moment? Like, when did you have your moment of madness?
Look, I guess it was always bubbling in the back of my mind, but I guess a few years ago, working for the state government with a small child, I was just very unhappy because I was just
What a surprise.
Yeah, it was I
shouldn't say that. It's just so
look,
hard to
I don't
juggle
wanna
the
say anything
kids.
Too bad, but it just wasn't working. The juggle. I was working part time to be there for my son, but I was working on this big project for the government, and then it ended up getting taken away from me because I said they
Right.
needed someone full time, and I'd poured my heart and soul into this project, and I guess
think-
that was the beginning of the end.
I feel like that's one of the things that we should all talk about on shows like at shows like this. Not that there are very many of them, but the fact that we are unique in that a lot of us are trying to do this juggle, and it
And
is
it
really
does
hard
not
when the
always
kids are
work.
really young.
Yeah.
It was
And
tough.
if your
It was one of the
employer,
toughest things that I
yeah, I mean,
found.
I was working in graphic design and advertising. Let me tell you, in those kind of agencies, you're expected to get in there at 7 or 8 in the morning and stay till 7 or 8 at night. And you go, but my kid's sick or something's happened, and there's kind of like, okay, off you go then. But I don't think that very many parents survive in those kind of businesses unless they've got some other kind of help. So you decided to make the leap.
Just go do it. So yep, it's done. It's open. It's 18 months on. It's still there. And
Now, well,
I
tell us
love
about
it.
your fit out though. So how did you find it in the end, and then how long was the fit out, and how do you even decide what you want it to
Jules,
look like?
I think we need a whole other program to talk about the engineering and building challenges, especially.
Really?
And I didn't have any background in building or engineering, but hey, I know it all now about exhaust fans and electricity
and support
supply
beams
and amps and
Three-phase power.
three-phase power and one-phase power, and so
Big learning curve there.
big learning curve.
And then, and
so-
how long is it to fit out? How long did it take you to fit out the restaurant? I mean, is it done in a month, or is it like
No,
6
look,
months?
The whole
or?
process of finding a site that was suitable and getting all the documents signed and getting the architect to do the plans and getting the builder in, and probably 18 months.
Oh wow! Oh right, I didn't
So-
realise
That
it was
would be
quite
pretty
so long.
standard.
But
Yeah, it's
but
pretty
you did it in
Oh yeah, that was an exception.
supersonic time.
Well, everything
But-
just then all of a sudden fell into place.
Right.
And once I got the lease, then it was just all on to get open before the summer
It's
season.
just a self-contained building, though, because
No, you're in a row, aren't you? Part
Yeah,
of a row.
there's 4 in it. So it's a 2-story building, and there's 4 tenants. And it was just a blank canvas. There was nothing in it.
And it's
at
absolutely
all.
gorgeous
So
now. I tell you, she's got all low rafters and
There's a lot
sort of
going on.
plants and yeah, it's very
Oh,
busy.
I'm visiting
I'm
you
gonna
today.
visit
You'll have to visit me.
Anyway, so the place is open, and
Yeah.
I just love it. I mean, it's the most amazing feeling, Jules. Like when
You
it's
really
a
find it
busy-
rewarding.
So, say a Friday night when the whole restaurant is full and buzzing and people queuing up to get in, and all the chefs
It's just
plating up the
amazing.
pasta, and all the front of house staff running around, and all the customers having a great time. Like, it's the most amazing feeling.
That's the
Oh,
addictive, that's the
but you
addictive
see-
part.
That's the adrenaline.
That's the
And there's the
adrenaline
passion
comes-
though as
yeah.
well. That's what keeps you going. Is I wouldn't necessarily get that buzz from having a house full of people, but I get a buzz when I help someone, get some publicity or whatever. And for you, it's probably I would say, knowing that your passion, and particularly is those tours, it's seeing the looks on people's faces when they
Oh, it
walk
is.
into some of those buildings or speak to some
Yeah,
of
it
those
is. And
people.
being able to share something that is very special that they wouldn't necessarily ever get to see
Yeah.
otherwise. So, but the same thing when you've got a shop full of people, and for us in our busy summer period,
Yeah, it's
and you
the
look around
adrenaline,
and there's
yeah.
just people everywhere and it's full and it's pumping. Yeah, you
Just
just
makes
click
your
into
heart
it. It
beat
does.
faster.
Yeah,
I
no,
That's
that's
how I
great.
do it. That's I didn't really get that buzz from my office jobs. Like, they were good. They were good. I got a lot
I can't
of
imagine
enjoyment
why
out of
not.
it. But, no, but there's actually a lot of commonality between what I was doing in government, because I was managing projects and teams of people.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing the same thing, but just I get to eat pastas.
In a much more fun environment. All right, well, look, let's just stop for a second. We're going to have a little break for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to come back, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about your journeys. So you've set it up. What's happened since then? So come back and join us in a couple of minutes.
This is Ticker.
From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Oh, sorry. Hi and welcome back to She's the Boss. Sorry, I was so busy chatting with the girls. All right, so I have the fabulous Annie Orchard from Annie's Providore and Annie's Italy. And we've also got Julia Picone from Pentalina, and we're talking all about Italian food. So what I'm really interested, girls, now is to talk about how once you set up your business, things change. Like what was the journey like? Because for some businesses they start slowly. I imagine yours is extremely seasonal, but I don't know. And also from Julia's point of view, how do you set up a pasta bar in Melbourne and within 18 months you're one of the top 10 restaurants in Melbourne? I want to know how you can do something like that when there are hundreds, if not thousands, of pasta bars in Melbourne. But let's start with you, Andrea. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about, you'd set it up, you've had your first summer or the first few weeks.
Yes.
How does it go from there?
Adrenaline, a lot of adrenaline, keeping you going.
Yeah.
Look, the first few years were obviously very tough, and it was
In what way? What was
very seasonal.
Right.
Obviously,
so you're making 80% of your money in 4 months of the
well,
year.
you're not
kind of
even
thing.
making it then, because with everything, overheads go up as well in the summertime. So I always say it's relative. People.
So does the rent go up and things
well,
like
no,
that?
but your costs of you're buying more goods because
yes,
more's going
of course,
out.
of
You've
course.
got more staff because there's more people. So to me, people always make that comment, and I always say, but it's relative.
Yeah, I'm imagining you've got 6 months of the year that you're just kind of kicking up your heels and doing nothing.
No, it doesn't work like that at all.
So how did you overcome the seasonal aspect of it?
Working 12 to 14 hour days, mopping floors, doing all the cleaning, the opening, the closing.
Oh, you did all of that
4
yourself.
and 5 year olds sitting in an office saying, "Mum, when can we
When
go
can
home?"
we go home?
You're crying, saying, "When can we go home? Have I done the right thing?"
So that's kind of good to know, because I've had moments, and I think anybody who runs a business has moments where you go, "What have I done?"
Yeah, it was tough.
And other moments where you go, "I know exactly why I've done
it." It was tough on two small
all of you
children.
Any second thoughts? Did
right.
you do you second guessing yourself? Maybe I should go back and get a job.
No, I just thought I had to keep going.
Right.
I created it, and we're open 7 days a week.
Right.
As well. So
Yeah.
Christmas Day
Long
was the only day
hours.
of closing.
Right.
Weekends, I worked literally 7 days a week for years and years and years and years. The
Right.
bulk of it. So it's probably only been the last 3-4 years that I've
You've
sort of
been able to work,
step.
because they always say you want to work on the business, not in it, to be able to sort
and
of
it's the
come up with
catch-22
strategies.
you get into, because you can't afford to pay the wages, and it was so seasonal. And what's happened over time is, obviously, as the brands become stronger and bigger and better, and Bowen Heads has certainly become a destination, the downtime isn't as down as it used to be.
Yeah, right. And then, of course, you branched out into catering. How soon was that afterwards?
Catering's only been about 5 or 6 years.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so that's more
Do you wish
recent.
you'd started that earlier? Does that even out? Does that even out that
No,
seasonal thing
I
at all?
suppose for us, Annie's is, the cafe is ticking along as it should be. Now the growth for us as a business is the catering and Annie's Italy. So that's what I'm
Because is the
concentrating.
catering very localised? Because I presume you can't. It's not easy to do Melbourne if it's an hour and a quarter away.
It depends on the client, because we do travel.
And the event, of course.
And the
if
event
it's
and
a
all
few
those sorts
hundred,
of things.
you'd get up there.
It's obviously, there's a lot of competition in that space as well. We've got the benefit that Annie's has got a brand, so people know the store Annie's
and
already.
the quality food they're going to get.
And then obviously Annie's Italy's progressed only in probably the last 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Where that started. So yeah, it has, over that 15 years, a lot's certainly happened and changed from the beginning of opening the doors.
I know, I often
now.
say, wouldn't it be great if you could just rub your crystal ball and go 5 or 10 years ahead and go, great, everything's fine, it's all good, okay, now I'll relax and enjoy this, but you're so stressed
It's just
at the
new
time.
challenges, I suppose. It's still stressful, it's still a lot, but I love what I do. I've got passion still for it. I have an amazing team.
And we're going to talk about teams in a minute, because both of you have had to find staff, and finding 42 for Dan and Bowen Heads has got to have been a challenge.
Yeah. So no, it's
but yeah. Anyway, so you put on the staff and
so it's evolved. Yeah, certainly from those early years to now, it's a completely different business to a large degree. Completely different.
Right. And then when did Annie's Italy start? Is that
3 to 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So well, let's talk about that in a second. First, let me go to you, Julia, and tell me, how do you get cut through? How do you grow an Italian restaurant in Melbourne, one that actually ends up being voted, and I've seen quite a few different articles now, the top 10 in Melbourne. So,
well, there's a lot of aspects, Jules, but I mean, marketing and PR is absolutely essential, especially these days. Like, if you're not online and you're not on social media, you may as well close your doors now. I don't know if it's like that in
So did you go really hard on social?
So we went hard on the social media.
From opening up?
Oh, from even before opening up, and that's something that, you know, we post everyday photos, because if people can't see you on social media, they won't even bother showing up.
So for those people who might be trying to think about setting up a restaurant, did you do the here is us fitting it out? Like, did you start with all of that?
Telling the story,
right?
Yeah, and it just built slowly, and
that was Facebook and Insta.
Facebook and Insta, and
right.
The website too, and I did PR as well, which worked really well because.
Yeah, you're a bit of a marvel at PR, I have to say. You put the work in.
Yeah, I may have got a bit of help from someone in this room.
I can only guide. You did really, really well. So you managed to get yourself on a Movable Feast.
Yeah, we did that. That was amazing to get on the Movable Feast TV show.
And what did that do for your restaurant? Tell everyone.
We went from having about 100 to 200 maximum hits on our website per day. Then we went to air on a Movable Feast on a Sunday night and got 1,400 hits.
Wow.
That night, and probably about 30 bookings within half an hour, and then gave us momentum.
That's amazing. So would you say that really helped kickstart the whole thing?
Oh, definitely. That and
what other media
broadsheet,
worked?
Like, you got to get in Broadsheet.
And Urban List, is that the other one?
Yeah, Urban List is good, and Concrete Playground, but Broadsheet is the goal. That's the
brings all the people in.
That's the one. But then the problem is, how do you maintain that momentum? So
once you've told the story of we've launched and we're here.
Yeah, we got in Broadsheet, and we had a big August 2018, but then it dipped back down again.
Right.
Then we got a Movable Feast in November, and it went back up again. But then, it's just like Annie said, the seasonal changes, even in the city. Like, because I'm still trying to figure out our trading patterns. And
right.
I think this year I've got a much better idea of when the peaks.
And does it just die in January?
Well, it actually hasn't been too bad. We ended up closing for 3 weeks after Christmas because last January was so quiet. Yes, I had a holiday.
Oh, fantastic!
Went away to Margaret.
Well, it's really important to get that, mental health kind of time out.
Yeah, but I think our school holidays are always a bit quieter, and then I think it's sort of for a pasta bar, we'll gear up sort of when the weather cools down around June, July.
It starts really.
But then, we had a big downturn around September, October, and talking to other people in the industry, everyone in Melbourne had a downturn around that time.
I wonder why. What was happening in September, October?
2019 was it's been a tough year.
It was the same 2018.
Compared to over the last 15 years, you'd plug it as one of the tougher ones?
Yeah,
I wonder why.
It's a very, very tough time for the restaurant industry.
It is.
Because firstly, there's just so much competition and new places opening every week. But you see it in the news every second day. A top chef or a top restaurant is getting busted for wage underpayment. So
yes, that's a massive thing.
So this industry has been surviving on wage underpayment. So then the people that do the right thing, like myself, are at a massive disadvantage.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation we could go into.
I don't think we need another show for that one.
Well, this one is all about food and stuff. So if we get the time, let's try and touch on some of that, because I think that's. I'm assuming that there are some people out there that have got a passion for food and would love to set up their own business, and so they're watching you to try and work out whether it's worth them taking the leap or not. So,
but there's just so much regulation. The wage and labour regulation. There's all the food safety requirements. There's
there's lots of stuff that's not fun.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of people I think miss when they think.
Which I would kind of say is the same about a lot of businesses. I think that there is always an aspect that's yuck of running a business. For me, because my business is online, it's all about technology. Like, oh my god!
But a lot of people go into it not realising.
Yeah, well, that's
the glamorous side.
And learning curve, like you say. I thought like I'm on Instagram every day, and I don't
to be honest, I really don't want to be on Instagram.
No, of course
I think
not.
social media's a little bit evil. But
Well, I was talking with Pinky Mackay the other day, who was on the show. She has something like 230,000 followers on Facebook. And I said, how did you get there? Because she did it organically. And she said, I post 10 times a day or 6 times a day. It was something.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh my God, all day, every day. But if she puts up a post, she gets 1.2 million who engage with it. So it's really interesting, isn't it? So it's worth putting in, especially if you haven't got a huge budget for marketing, then you've got to be creative. And social and PR, I think,
I don't have a marketing budget apart from social media. You've got to get good photos. So I do get photographers out regularly.
Well done.
I have an agency that I work with to do all the posts.
Oh, so they do all the
milk
posts
bottle
for you now?
projects,
Yeah, good.
So, well, like we work together. I do some of them. They do most of it these days. So they're very good. So, yeah.
So you've opened up. You've got your staff or whatever you need to get started. What's your journey been like from there? Are there any insights you can share with us about the first year, say, of setting it up?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be agile. You've got to respond to the market and see
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly. It's just the concept. It keeps on changing. It's a very fine balance to find the right menu, the right number of items, the right pricing on the menu, and the right number of staff. We've got to find our niche in the market.
And is that,
so sometimes we've gone too far one way.
I was going to say, is that sort of test it and see? So you put them out, and if no one wants it, no one's buying that dish. Maybe it's too expensive, or
or maybe it's just do it.
Not
We started off with 14 pasta dishes on the menu. Now we've got 7.
Right.
7 really good variety, and a much broader menu. We've got small bites, we've got entrees, we've got all the
yes,
pasta
because I
and
think
the
when
dessert,
I went
so
to
you can
yours,
go and have multi-course meal.
Yeah, that was what the thing that I did. I think I went with Wendy Hargreaves, who's also been on the show, and is a foodie journalist. And we went there and had it was like a 5-course taster, and it was absolutely fantastic. Just
making me hungry.
Yeah.
It's initially I thought it would be just come in, grab a quick bowl of pasta and go, but it's evolved more into a come and have a real dining experience and really enjoy a lot of different dishes,
and it is.
And we're using the best
and just that atmosphere. I love the fact that your kitchen is in the restaurant, really. So you do feel like you're in a really cosy little place with all of that. So okay, so both of you have sort of set up your restaurants. They're up and running now. Have there been anything along the journey that you think it would be useful to share with anybody else around unexpected surprises, things that happen to you that could happen, that often happen to people? Have you had or hiccups?
Annie, do you constantly get equipment breakdowns? Because I'm struggling with that. It seems like every day, there's a leak in the dishwasher. Or
someone lets you know that someone needs to come out and service this. Or
always can you call the plumber?
What do you do?
The kitchen's you just got to.
I mean, do you have to close
it always
it
happens
down
on
for
the weekend when the dishwasher decides to break down. It's
Right.
a long weekend.
Yeah, that happened to us yesterday.
And you're carting dishes all the way upstairs to the other part of the building, and you're just like, it happens on a weekend every single time.
A couple of months ago, there was an absolute nightmare. I turned up at 7 o'clock in the morning to welcome the air conditioning serviceman.
Yeah.
But there was no power to the restaurant. There was no power. We thought it's the switchboard shorted out, but no, it was just gone. So I had
there was
to send
just a blackout in the city.
No, just in our restaurant. And so I had to send the aircon serviceman away and tell him to come back another day, and called the electricians immediately to come out and have a look. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they finally figured out what was wrong, which was that the neighbouring tenant's air conditioner condenser unit had been dripping onto our electrical meter outside and slowly fried the wires. So, but in the meantime, we had 30 people booked for lunch, had to close, couldn't open, had no power. Our chefs are amazing. So they kept on working in the dark.
How do you deal with that in terms of the reputation of the restaurant?
Outages are actually a worry.
Well, because of all your fridges and stuff as well.
I
guess,
go into a panic, and it's and it happened to us
That's
recently.
we had food deliveries, had to throw them out, gone. No. You can't keep. But anyway, look, I managed to sort it out.
Save the day.
I managed to get some compensation because it was not my fault. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's good.
But just the stress on the day of not knowing what was wrong and how long we'd be out for. I mean, lucky it was just one lunch. What if it had gone on for days
for a
or
week?
weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's just
Right.
the panic. So how do you deal with the anxiety and the panic, Annie? That's
Oh,
what I'd
I
like to
just
know.
well, I mean, you would be the same. You have very good tradespeople that you have
Yeah.
on your speed dial that you
Right.
know that, and I have them that I know on a weekend. I
They
can
can
ring the
come in.
electrician and they will come in. The plumber will come in. You know, they will. You know, so you build up a good team around you of support. So you're not doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah,
You've
I
got
think
people there
that's-
that you know that are going to support you because you always know it's going to be a crisis at the most inconvenient time, every single time.
So assume Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong, and be prepared for
but
it.
be prepared for it. Know that, you know, I can call up my electrician and it might be a Friday night and he'll say he'll either be there or Tom will be there in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
You know, because you can't afford for fridges to be down. Like
No,
the power is
no.
such a huge thing. We run that much power through the
Do you have
building.
generators? I mean, do you think
No.
about getting a generator or
No,
something like
no,
that?
not at this stage. But obviously, with our power consumption, and we haven't had a stinking hot summer this year
Yes.
so far. But that is becoming a more of a concern in my mind with power outages.
Yeah,
and
right.
How long
Yeah,
they're going
our,
for.
Yes.
my electricity rates just went up. Are yours gone?
Power bills,
Just
my power
Yeah,
bill.
yeah. Well,
make your
and
eyes
also the
water.
bushfires is not going to improve
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah,
and so let's now just talk a little bit about Annie's tour, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Annie's Italy's. So, why did you even think about that idea?
My first trip to Italy was as an 8-year-old.
Yes.
Nearly 41 years ago. It's giving away my age. And we went for 3 months, and we went and stayed with my father's family,
Yep.
as well as travelling around other bits of Europe. And I didn't want to leave. I'd cried at the airport and kicked and screamed, and I just thought the lifestyle
This
as an
is me.
8-year-old, I just was amazing. And then obviously growing up, mum cooking very traditional dishes of that region, I realise now. And then about 4 years ago, travelling through Italy, decided to turn up in the little town that my grandfather was from, and went into a bar and spoke to the lady and said the family's name. She went out the front of the bar and she looked and said, "Here comes one of your cousins now." And he jumped in the car
Oh my
with
God,
us
I'm getting tingles
and-
down my spine. That's
and,
really weird.
and took us to Auntie and Uncle's place that I'd met, that I hadn't seen for
40 years or whatever, right?
Yeah, and then their son, who's roughly my age, who I'd seen a couple of times that he'd come to Australia, he turned up because he could speak English, and him and I have become like brother and sister. We're
Right.
very, very close, and he's been involved in the journey with the tours as well.
And so, who suggested it? Were you there and you just went, actually, I
No,
could
we
bring
were out,
people
we were out
here?
for dinner, and I'd already been thinking about, gosh, how good would it be to bring people here to experience the places that people wouldn't normally get to go to.
Yep.
And then my cousin started talking about a villa that his family they'd been building, and it was nearly ready, and it just snowballed
Right.
from there, and it's
Okay.
evolved ever since.
Okay, so hold that thought because I want to know actually
Mm.
how it works. We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back, and I will be paying attention next time you come back. So we'll see you after the break.
This is Ticker.
Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Welcome back to She's the Boss. I'm Jules Brooke and I have two amazing guests with me today, both in the Italian food space, Andrea Orchard, or Annie, from Annie's Providore, and Julia Picone from Pentolina. Now, just before the break, you were starting to talk about your Annie's Italy tours, and so you came up with the idea with your cousin. Can you tell me, I think that they're quite small groups as well. What do you actually do? What's involved in the tours?
So we only take a maximum of 7 or 8.
Right, why is that?
Because I can drive a 9-seater van by law. I could drive much bigger, but by law I can only drive
I love that.
size. So to go to that next step and get bigger, it would be a lot of work, and in Italy that's not easy to do.
So you have a 9-seater van, you,
Yep.
your cousin, and
Yep.
whoever else wants to come along can
Yeah,
fit
exactly.
in there.
So it's
very intimate.
it is very intimate.
Which is nice, all right.
And the group I've got coming in May are all friends.
So what's the tour in May? Because you've
So
got...
we've got that one's fully booked in May.
Yeah.
Which is
But you're doing
fantastic.
something a bit different this
yeah,
year, aren't
then
you?
the next, and then in June, a couple of days following up.
Oh my God, what are you going over there and then coming back, sort of touching the
No,
front
no,
door
what
and
the
saying
thing-
hi kids and then disappearing
yeah, exactly.
again?
Nicole Ramsey, who is an amazing photographer from Bow and Head.
Specifically around food or landscape,
yeah.
or what does she do?
Yeah, she's been in a lot of style magazines.
Okay.
She does all my photography for Annie's.
Okay.
And I just very
Love her.
passionate about her work. I love
Yeah.
aligning myself with people who, and more amazing women.
Yep.
So she's coming over to actually shoot Annie's Italy, that
Right.
tour.
Like a little film?
Yeah, like to, just give me content for social
Yeah,
media and
great.
those things, which she did 3 years ago. So we hatched a plan when she was doing my headshots recently, and she said, I think I should come back and do that again. And then it progressed to, why don't we do one together?
Yes.
So she co-hosts it with me. People can get tips how to take the best photos with their phone,
I think that's
or
brilliant.
if they've got their own cameras, it's not too serious.
I can see Julia wants to go now.
She's great fun. It's just meant to be fun and light.
Yeah.
So we're doing that one as well, which is just a 6-night tour.
Right, but learn how to do food photography and...
Yeah, or styling shots,
Styling
scenic shots, any of those sorts of things. I mean, there's
Fantastic.
so much to photos to take when you're in Italy, whatever it is.
That's
so yeah, that'll be
fantastic.
fun as well. So we've got that in June.
Right.
So, yeah, and then back in September for another 2.
Right, so how many are you doing a year?
So
4?
I do usually
3?
2,
Two.
offer 2 dates in
So
May
winter and summer?
2 in September.
Right, no, spring and autumn.
Yeah, and then
Lovely.
next year they'll be actually changed up a bit. We're doing June, July, because I'm having my 50th birthday in Italy next
Oh,
year.
congratulations.
So I've got to tie it all around my birthday
Yes.
in July.
But it's a beautiful time to be in Europe
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly,
I mean, it's just
exactly.
perfect.
So I'm very passionate about it. I just love being able to, I've now got a group of, and funnily enough, it's mainly these 5th and 6th generation Italian women.
Right.
It's the women who are running the businesses. The brothers, sons have decided they don't want to do it.
So hang on, are you saying in Italy it's all
Yes.
the way... Oh, right.
And
oh,
our
that's
guests
great.
notice it. They go, they're all these 28, 29-year-old women. It's incredible.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing.
And do you have mainly women that go with you, or it's a
No, it's
pretty
a mix.
big mix?
Mothers and daughters, husbands and wives.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, as the show is She's the Boss, and you're both female bosses, I'm interested to know. We touched on staffing earlier, so let's talk a little bit about that. And I'm also interested to know, as women in the hospitality industry, have you had any challenges specifically because of your sex? Do you think? Off you go, Julia. I know you've got something to say on this.
All right. Oh, well, on the subject of staff, yeah, it's just absolutely essential to have good staff. I mean, the only reason Pentolina works is because I have an amazing head chef,
Yeah.
Gabriele Olivieri, and an amazing restaurant manager, Philippe Perry, who's probably watching, so I'll give a shout out.
Hi, Philippe and Gabrielle.
So they treat the place like their own, and that's why it works, because it's too much for one person, and
Yeah.
they just put their hearts
So it's
and
that
souls.
team thing that Andrea's talking about, and I also think even as women that it's very rare that I see a lot of women go off on their own. I think people need to have that support group, much more than blokes who are quite, I think, in a lot of instances happy to kind of forge their own
Single-minded,
path, whereas
yeah.
we want to bring someone with us,
But
just instinctively.
But we're also passionate about it, and I think that's why the customers keep on coming back, because they can feel that, because it's just a small place with survive on the smell of an oily rag pretty much.
With
but,
delicious food, I'm sure that's a
but
big
with
part of it
delicious
as well.
food, and the food is amazing, and we just really want to make it's all about the experience.
But
So-
have there been any particular challenges that you think, because you're the female boss, like the female mafia. I mean, you know, maybe
Look,
there isn't, but
mostly it's fine. I mean, you get the occasional tradie who you speak to, or they turn up and they're like, "What? You're a woman? Where's the bloke?"
they
You
don't
know?
say that.
No, you just
You feel it.
you feel it. You feel it. No, most are fine these days, but and then you know I'm a bit hopeless with maintenance issues, but I'm learning.
Yeah,
Like I've
well-
learned so much, so yeah, I think I'll get to the point where
You will.
I'll be able to tell them what to do. But I didn't really envisage that owning a restaurant would involve so much maintenance and technical stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I wouldn't imagine that either. I mean, as somebody who doesn't work in the industry, it all just looks like cooking for lots of people
No,
who
see,
love your
like-
food, but
Like we had this
no.
ongoing problem with our glass washer, and
Right.
I kept on getting the glass washer serviceman in, and who said, "Oh, it's a plumbing problem." Then I get the plumber in and say, "Oh no, it's a problem
That's like me
internal
with
to the
cars.
machine." So who do you believe? Who do
Yeah.
you believe? And I ended up, you know, getting in there and looking and trying to figure it out myself. And
Right.
anyway, I managed to get the problem fixed. Yeah.
Well
You become
done.
very capable. You realise
Yeah.
you can pretty much.
Now,
sort
Annie-
it out.
But every time there's a problem, the staff just complain to me. They're like, "Oh, Julia, there's a flood. Oh, Julia, the glass. I hate this glass washer." I'm like, "What do you want me to do about
Yeah.
it?" So, yeah,
But the buck stops with you, so you've got to go and find a solution for all of them, I guess.
Yes, I do, because I
The beauty of being the boss.
Yep.
Now, Andrea, you have a completely different kind of challenge, I would imagine, with 42 staff. That's a hell of a lot.
It is a lot.
So are they all part-timers? How does it all work, and how do you find them?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the office staff, we've got a head of accounts, I've got a function manager, and myself. We're all in the office together.
Right.
So people don't think I work anymore, but my roles change because I'm not on the shop floor mopping floors and, you know,
Yeah.
it's
And you were
grown over
obviously
the
so
years.
visible for so many
So
years.
exactly, that when I'm not...
They're like, "Oh, she's
think
retired now."
They think I'm not there, they don't realise that I'm just in another part of the building.
Yeah, right.
It's so important to have an incredible team, you know, even down to your head of accounts, she's been a rock for me.
Yeah.
She's just been
Yeah, if you can be
incredible.
friends with your accountant,
You know,
it's
she's, you know, the trust we have with each other, she's incredible. And it allows me to go and spend the time
Overseas.
overseas. I'm going for 9 weeks this time, which is the longest I've been away. And all their full support. I mean, I went 3 nights to Noosa for Christmas Eve. I haven't left Bowen Heads at Christmas time for 15 years.
right.
Because we're only ever closed Christmas Day.
I think I saw a social media post of you on the beach, actually.
And I sat down with my manager and my head chef, and I said to them, "Look, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And they just looked at me and said, "Why are you asking us? Of course,
Do it.
do it." And that's what you want,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because it's changed from you feeling, and you've got to change
Yeah.
because you know there's a bit of guilt, and you're thinking, "Oh, should I? Shouldn't I?"
But
But-
I think it's super important that you take out that time, as you were talking about, that you had a holiday as well. I genuinely think that if you have a holiday, you come back refreshed and ready. It might take.
And I
It
certainly
takes
didn't
a
do
week.
any of that for a long
No.
time. So it's really great to hear that you've done that, because that's probably one of
You
my
run
big
yourself into the
regrets.
ground.
It was a huge impact on family life and everything.
Yeah.
So if you can do that,
I
yeah,
know.
really,
I know.
that's
My
fantastic.
business coach always goes, "Don't stop, because if you stop, you've got to build that momentum." But I'm like, I can build it much faster if I'm refreshed than if I'm kind of still.
And that's all right. I mean, but even when you're on
slogging on.
holiday, you're not totally on holiday. I mean, I was
No,
taking,
You're always
of course.
I was taking
thinking,
phone
yeah.
inquiries. I was sitting
Yeah.
in a cafe in the middle of the
Checking
bush,
your
talking,
emails all the
talking to my
time
head
and-
chef about the new menu.
But
It
a
was
successful
good.
business is
Yeah.
one that doesn't need you in it 7 days
Yes.
a week.
Yeah, although
I
That's the
I
biggest
did-
thing I've learned.
Although, Annie, do you find as a challenge that if you're not on the floor mopping or cooking, that people don't think you're doing anything? Because
Yeah.
I find that people don't
Yeah,
realise
that-
how much is involved in
No, they don't realise what you're
the
doing
things
in
that
the
I
office
do
all day,
and
every
just
day.
yeah.
No, and you haven't got anybody
just the
to pat
strategic
you on the
thinking.
head and say, "Well done for doing it."
No,
you know,
no,
it's
that's the
just you
thing.
just
I
got to
have to-
keep
I
going.
get-
It's lonely at the top, Julia.
I know. I run weekly online webinars where I'm coaching people on Friday mornings, and I went away last year and I ended up sitting on a park bench in Echuca with my laptop on it and my phone as the hotspot, doing this whole Q&A with people for an hour. And you just kind of do what you have to do.
But
You
I,
do.
but I seriously, like people, I still get people that ask me, "Oh, you're still working for the government? Are you still working as a lawyer?" Which I haven't done for more than 10 years.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, like
They're
people
pretty out of touch.
don't seem to understand that a restaurant, obviously, it is about the cooking and the serving customers, but then there's
There's
this
a
whole
hell of a lot more
overhead
to
of
it.
stuff.
That's
Because
something
I do
over
all my
time
own
you've gotta
accounts
try
and my
and
own
let go of.
marketing and stuff. So yeah, no, I do it for the inner satisfaction.
Okay, so we've probably got about another 5 or 6 minutes. Can we talk about what it is that you have learned along the way that you might be able to use or that we could offer as advice to anybody else that might be thinking about setting up, maybe particularly in hospitality. Any of the things that you kind of wish someone had told you at the very beginning of your journey that maybe would have made you do something differently, anything that has happened along the way. You know, we all have catastrophes that we have to get over, and often bigger than, you know, and also juggling your family. And I mean, do you see your families? Do you both have enough time that you are seeing families? You've said, you know, you would love to have had holidays earlier. I would always encourage people to try and take, even if it's just a week, or 3 or 4 days, you know, every 6 months.
In particular that's been in it for a long time would certainly look back and have regrets, and I would certainly, you know, encourage Julia on this very early stage, and knowing, you know, you have a son, and I mean, I have plenty, because the business was a third child.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. I have 2 children.
A very demanding third child as well.
And my children are very happy
The
to
actual
remind
child
me
is
of it.
easier, I think, yeah.
And in my case, the 4th child.
Yeah, and something's got to give.
Yeah.
When you're working 7 days a week.
But what does need to give? Where did you choose?
I chose work.
Yeah, so driven doing
Because
that,
it was
and the
just
kids
trying
come
to keep
in.
your head above water and trying to keep.
And I actually think it's really good for your kids to see you working really hard. I mean, my kids kind of go, "You're always working. You're always sitting on the laptop." But, well, which I'm not all the time, but I mean, but it's good for them to see that there is a drive and a passion, and that's what keeps you.
They're proud. I mean, I know the children are very proud.
Very proud.
Yeah,
So I started taking my son into work with me from time to time, usually just if I'm having meetings with the staff,
Yeah.
and I think, well, that's good for him to see,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you know, a female boss with men. And
Yeah, I think
me
so.
do
And,
so.
and I'm with
Good.
Julia. I know my kids are really proud because they might not necessarily say it to me, but I hear them and I see them talking about it with their friends. Oh, my mum does this, or my mum does that. And you just feel, pleased for them. Because I think that juggle is really hard. And I think certainly for a lot of women, and even for me, when they're very little, is that guilt as well. Of, you know,
it's I don't know, it's been a sort of
needs must.
It's been a mixed experience for me. Like, it is hard because I'm sort of switched on to the business 7 days a week, but then I do have flexibility, especially because I'm not the head chef or the manager, and I do a lot of work at home. So I do take my son to school every day at 9 o'clock.
Nice, yeah.
And I don't work every night. You know, I have
And
very
when they have
supportive
those little
parents that help
concerts
out.
at school, or they do
Well, yeah,
whatever,
I went
you
to
go.
his final assembly
Yeah,
last
fantastic.
year, which is on a
He would have
Friday
loved
morning,
it.
and
I know I used to do that every once in a while, and I'd sit there in the audience with the other mums and think, God, I wish I was doing this all the time. And then I'd go back to work and go, God, I'd hate to be doing that all the time.
No,
Nice
and if I pick him up on time at school and I see some other mums just hanging out in the playground, or I'm dragging him saying, we've got to go,
Yeah.
and I feel like...
My kids are in high school now, and they do these parent drop-off cups of tea, like come and meet with the mums, and I'm like, I can't drop my kids off. They've got to go on the train. I've got to get working. They always do sort of like a 9:30 coffee. Let's all just chat about our year 9 and year 10 kids, and I'm kind of like, I just can't. You know, so those are some of the I can't speak. Those are some of the things you have to sacrifice, I think.
I think one of the big things I remember someone saying to me, which is a little bit different, is apples and oranges. Not everyone likes apples and not everyone likes oranges, because you can get very caught up in the early stages of trying to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And you can't be. You'll kill yourself trying
Yeah.
to be. So that was something that took me a long time
you've got to
learn,
pick your
because you'd be
battles.
Like, oh, why didn't they like, you know, because you want everyone, but you're not going to.
No.
So you just got to stick to what your core values in
Yeah.
business is, and do it really well, and then you'll get...
And talk with other women in business, I think, and that really helps as well. Whereas there were times that I would feel like I would be walking across the playground at school, that all the mums would be looking at me going, that's the woman who's always working and never around. And other times you just kind of, you're sitting around with your other girlfriends, we're all in the same boat, but we're all driven to succeed, and our kids get to watch that. So I think, you know, you kind of have to pick your own battles. Now, we haven't got too much longer, so firstly I would like you girls to tell people where people can find your business. So you start, Annie. Where do people go to?
So I've got website anniesprovidor.com.au.
Yeah.
Or
down to Bowen Heads, and you'll be able to find it on the main street.
And Annie's Italy, we've got all our dates for 2021 up at the moment.
And that's on anniesprovidor.com.au?
No, it's on anniesitaly.com.au.
.com.au, okay.
So just think Annie's.
Yep, Annie's, but Annie's Italy sounds like the most amazing tour. So
and there's
if
still
you're
spots available for this year, and I've just booked
and
tickets
the photography one has some spots available still.
in June,
Great.
and I just booked tickets last night for our guests for Andrea Bocelli.
Oh, wow.
September trip in Marostica, which is a beautiful medieval
Wow, so
village.
if you love Andrea Bocelli and would like to see him in Italy, surrounded
Join
by
in
everything,
September.
join Annie in September. I need to start saving up. Okay, Julia, tell us about Pentolina.
Pentolina is 377 Little Collins Street, Melbourne. So it's on a laneway off Little Collins Street between Elizabeth Street and Queen Street.
Yep.
Our website is Pentolina, Pentolina.
Yeah. Pasta bar?
No,
just Pentolina?
Pentolina.com.au.
All right, great. Well, I highly recommend that you go to these restaurants and sample some of the delicious food. In fact, Andrea and I are going to Pentolina after this
Can't wait.
to go and eat, so we're dribbling with yum yum. So I'm Jules Brooke. I have a business called Handle Your Own PR, and I teach business owners how to do PR. This is my show, She's the Boss. Thank you very, very much for coming on today,
Thank you for
girls.
having us.
Thanks, Jules.
And I look forward to seeing you next week, where we will have some more amazing women.
This is Ticker, your new source for news.